Mitchell, BSN student at University of St. Francis. This is Miss Terry Roberts. She is my professor in community health. So that is why I was here all semester, was I was doing a rotation in community health. So first off, I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to come into your space, be in a lot of these IDG meetings throughout the semester, and also for Tracy letting me go out to different sites, home visits, and all those in between. So yeah, thank you for that. So I handed around a pamphlet. That's kind of what I've been working on this semester. I wanted to look to see if there was a gap of anything that needed further education on for not only for you guys, for hospital providers that are working with your patients before they get here, and also for patients and their families. So this is really geared at patients and their families who are looking to initiate hospice care. So the model that I kind of followed was to acknowledge what hospice is, and also, more importantly, acknowledge what the patient has been through. Before they get to your guys' hands, they have been through many hospital readmissions, emergency department visits. They've been through even family history of chronic diseases, likely. So acknowledging what they've been through. The second step that I kind of looked at is, what is hospice? For you guys, you work in it, so you know what it is, but a lot of patients, including me before I took this course, I thought hospice was like that last step of healthcare before you die. I couldn't have been more wrong when I started looking at what you guys do, how you qualify for being in a hospice program. So looking at what hospice does and what are the benefits of hospice. That was the biggest thing that I've learned this semester, is how you guys care for spiritual, social, psychological, physiological, and so planning for that next step of life. So if you guys just look at the pamphlet, I'm going to kind of walk through it. So the first thing that I had is just a welcome, and it follows that same model of acknowledging what they've been through, what is hospice and what you guys do, and then also looking to see what's going to happen in the future. All this information was pulled from different resources you guys had out there, but I took and engaged it for a patient-specific and family-specific model. I looked at the resources you guys provided, so 24/7 on call, reevaluation on a weekly basis with your guys' face-to-faces and NP visits, also with the IDG that you guys do on a bi-monthly basis, where you speak with Dr. Sweeney about the patients, any changes, anything that needs to be updated, and also looking at the patients that have passed, that have entered your services. What could you guys done better? I think that was a really neat thing that I saw Dr. Sweeney do, was the education that he started to add at the beginning of each one. The other ones on there: medical supplies, respite care, nutrition, supplementation, and then medication ordering that you guys have, and also the final one, grief support. Looking at your guys' bereavement process that you will offer to patients and how that's constantly being utilized, and I think even can be utilized more in the future. Next page I was going to look at is the journey. So that is probably the number one thing that I think is a misconception of hospice care, is when do you start hospice care? We talked a lot of times about patients where we hadn't even had an IDG meeting to reflect on a patient's plan of care. They entered hospice and then they exited hospice by death in that same 2-week process. So what are things that could be done that can improve that? And that's kind of where I went with this pamphlet, is, hey, how can we go out into the hospitals and get the word of mouth going that, hey, if you have a patient that's in a COPD exacerbation, they likely have a prognosis of less than 6 months. How can we care for them more holistically than having them discharge and come back in 3 days because they can't walk to their fridge without being short of breath? So those different things I wanted to look at and see. You can't really just go out there and force patients into hospice, even though that sometimes is what you want to do, is like, look at these services we offer, but more acknowledging what they've been through and what we can offer for them. A day in hospice or holistic hospice care. So looking at the highlights of what you guys do, anything from a PRN nursing visit. Tracy was just telling me how she just went out and fixed a stat lock, but she drove an hour to go and do that. I mean, sometimes it's the most ridiculous things that you guys do, but other times, I mean, it's going out for that continuous care, and then also patients that are active, being able to spend those minutes and even seconds with the family, creating those moments that are going to last a lifetime. Those are things that you guys have to offer for those patients and their families. Looking at how you guys have a multidisciplinary group outside of nursing care and the healthcare providers, physicians, you have dietary support, you have massage therapy, you have music therapy, you have chaplain services. All those different components make up for a successful end-of-life care treatment. And that can be, again, end-of-life can be a treatment of minutes to months, and even we had a patient that was going over a year on hospice care. As long as you have that slow decline, our services are there for them. And then the final thing is just the contact information, saying that you guys are available 24/7. As soon as people are able to start with the hospice care, you guys are already putting resources toward them. And also, just if you, for the hospice patients, if they get discharged, whether that's they discharge because their health is improving, they're seeking curative treatment, or if the loved one has passed, you guys are still there to follow up with the family members, help with funeral services and different things like that. So those are things I just wanted to share that I saw. I seriously cannot express how grateful I am just to be able to learn from this. I work in the emergency department at Lutheran Hospital, so being able to see patients that are going into that hospice care and just to see that their suffering is a lot more relieved by things that you guys do is just amazing. So yeah, I applaud you for that, and just thank you very much for allowing me to come here this semester. So thank you.
Nice work.